This Fear Assembly podcast is a continuation from the prior episode.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Sam Raimi. I mean, like I said earlier, I love the Evil Dead movies. I mean, even when he did Spider-Man, those movies, the whole trilogy, Haters of 3 Be Damned, those movies are very, very important to me. But I love the fact that he went back to horror. And what we don't typically remember about Drag Me to Hell, because it doesn't feel that way, as this is a PG-13 horror film. It feels just as intense and nasty as Evil Dead, but it's a really wicked one. And then When Evil Lurks, that's one that I actually saw I think it was the world premiere, but it was at least one of the first ones at Fantastic Fest that year, and it ended up being my number one of the festival. So that was one that, like Obsession this year, I got to put on a lot of people's radar. And then months later when it came out, it just get a flood of messages of people being like, thank God you put this on my radar, because what the fuck was that I just watched? I'll never forget in the theater where everybody walks in, and typically with those, you don't really know exactly what you're in for.
Mm-hmm.
And when that dog does what he does, everybody's just whoa, okay. And for a subgenre that, I think demonic possession, I think that's one of the more oversaturated subgenres of horror, where it just feels like 60% of it is just people trying to chase The Exorcist. And so that was a movie that really stood out as something where it's like it's leaning into possession kind of lore, but in such a different way culturally. With, I think you said it was Argentina, and it's like it's building a bridge between like a curse movie with possession, and so it was just a really unique one. So yeah, both of those are good call outs.
I remember seeing that in the theater, and I think didn't that come out in 2023, like August of 23 or something like that? Yeah, I remember going to see that in the theater, and it was like a relatively unknown horror movie that wasn't really marketed that much. I was actually kind of surprised that it had a theatrical release. And I remember when I went to the theater, it was literally just me and one other guy. And we sat on like completely different sides of the theater. And like, I can tell that neither one of us really knew what we were getting ourselves into. What made me watch the movie was have y'all ever seen this movie called Terrified?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's made by the same.
Not.
It's great movie, by the way. That scene with the little boy in the kitchen, ridiculous. But so when I found out that they were made by like the same people, I was like, okay, I can trust this movie. But I didn't know what to expect. And like the whole time the movie was going on, me and this guy, he was like, look back and be like, are you seeing this shit, dude? I'm like, yeah, bro, this shit is wild. Like that movie was bonkers. And I still say that it was the scariest movie of 2023. And especially when you had movies like The Exorcist Believer that came out the same year that was absolute dog water. So seeing a possession movie be better than an Exorcist sequel was kind of crazy. But yeah, definitely I agree with that one. On the possession side, possession movies are strange in a way, because there are certain movies that aren't necessarily possession movies in the traditional sense, but they still kind of qualify as a possession movie. Like you could even say Obsession is kind of like a possession movie, because she's clearly possessed by something.
Yeah.
Because the real Nikki was still in there, and you would hear it come out every now and again. So I definitely would consider that to be one. On the possession side, not necessarily my favorite genre because it's so oversaturated, but my favorite movie with the word exorcist in it is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Outside of The Exorcist itself. But Exorcism of Emily Rose, I think, is one of the best possession movies, because it's a true crime story mixed in with a possession story. And the main story of the movie is really like the trial that the priest was on, and not necessarily just the possession part. We got to see it, but it was really about the true crime side of it. That's one of my favorite possession movies. I love that climax scene, that third act scene. I love that scene.
A good one.
And knowing that she did all that contortion herself was crazy.
Well, we brought up The Exorcist and all the sequels. So Cody, I think there's one that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here with another hot take, I believe, over on my island, where like The Exorcist, you can't take anything away from it, but that was one where as a kid, I was such a hungry horror fan where all you had to do was like tell me something was scary or tell me a basic premise of something, and I would hunt that thing down like a bloodhound until I
Mm.
got to see it. And The Exorcist was one where everybody and their mother was like, "Now that's the scariest movie ever." And when I finally watched it, like, of course it's a classic, but I was like, "No, not that's the scariest movie I've ever seen." And I didn't. It was one of those franchises where I never really wanted to dive into the rest of them. And
You're not
like
missing
Stoney,
nothing.
yeah. Oh no, no. I have. I've watched them, but when I was a kid, I never really wanted to keep going down that rabbit hole. And
Yeah.
much like Stoney said, my dad was the one that introduced me to a lot of classics, and so he was the one that put The Exorcist 3 in front of me.
Mhm.
And I have always preferred The Exorcist 3. I know some people think that's insane, but I just find, especially for being within the same franchise, it's such a unique movie. It doesn't feel like it's just trying to, sequelize the original. It's not trying to bring Regan back. It's not trying to do anything with Locust, thank God.
Right.
And you get the third one, and it's just such a unique, wild movie that I think is creepy. It's unnerving. It's got a fantastic central performance. I personally get really creeped out by like hospitals and settings like that. That's one of the most effective settings you can put a horror movie in for me. So that
I
really
kind of have
works
a
in its
hot take
favor.
about Exorcist 3. Well, let you
Oh,
finish.
I look forward to hearing it here in a second. So we got you got Brad Dourif. Yeah, I'm a Chucky guy, and I think that his performance is insane in Exorcist 3, and it has arguably the greatest jump scare of all time. It's one of the best set up and crafted jump scares. So
I
that's the
agree with
movie
that.
for me where, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if I'm in an Exorcist mood, I'm going to yank that one off the shelf. But go
Yeah, I
ahead
agree
with your
with that.
hot take. Are you going to break my heart?
No, actually,
Okay.
it's actually in support of the film. I
Oh,
truly
good.
believe that Exorcist 3 would be held in higher regard as a movie had it not been called Exorcist 3.
I can agree with that.
Because of how unique that movie was and how different it was from the original. There was no, like you said, there were no recurring characters. It was a completely different story within that same universe. But had that movie just been its own standalone movie without the name The Exorcist attached to it, which forced people into comparison, because let's just be honest, that's what happens. When you
Yeah.
slap a name of a movie on something, people are going to compare it to the last one.
Yeah.
So if The Exorcist 3 came out and it was just its own movie, I think that movie would be held in much higher regard.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's similar to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, where it feels like the
Same
biggest
thing.
handicap is being a
Mhm.
part of the franchise.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
exact thing.
I just rewatched Exorcist 3 the other night because I had read how Mike Flanagan was rewatching it as a lot of his inspiration of his upcoming Exorcist adaptation. We'll
That's
see how
awesome
that
to
is,
hear.
and I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan, and I think a lot of the people listening to this are as well. So it's a franchise where the expectations are so high. It's hard, to pull it off. But yeah,
Mhm.
Exorcist 3 is definitely a winner. So if you're going to check out a sequel to the original, it's definitely Exorcist 3.
That's the only
What
movie in the franchise besides the first one that's worth spending your time on.
Yeah, you can skip with Heretic, the second one, you can skip that.
Oof.
Yeah.
There's so many franchises as I've built my YouTube channel where I go through these like franchise review series, and every single time I do, there's always that one where everybody's like, "Oh my God, wait till you get to that one," whether you get the Freddy's Deads or the Halloween Resurrections, whatever. And almost always it feels like it's overhyped how bad it is. Where by the time I get to the bad one, I'm like, I mean, yeah, it
Mhm.
wasn't good, but like, I don't think I hated it that much. Exorcist 2, The Heretic, I think it was like undersold how bad that movie was. Like you're
Yeah.
watching it, you're just like, who thought any of this was a good idea?
Yeah.
Any of it.
It's so bad that honestly, bro, like be honest, like every single time you people talk about classic horror films or movies in general, and they talk about franchises,
Mhm.
people only talk about The Exorcist and The Exorcist 3. They act like The Exorcist 2 doesn't exist, as they should.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Mhm.
Um, I fully agree with that.
What's your hidden gem, Cody?
So my hidden gem is something that I think more people than not would probably say it's more horror adjacent. The horror, is it horror thriller? You can decide for yourself. But this is one that when I think of possession is always one of my favorites. And it's a movie called Fallen with Denzel Washington and John Goodman. And it's a demonic possession film that is kind of playing in the
Ah,
sandbox of like one of
man.
those like 90s crime thrillers like Seven or uh, yeah, The Bone Collector, something like that, where you've got Denzel Washington as this cop, this detective. Movie
Wasn't he like
opens up.
paralyzed or something?
No, that's in Bone Collector.
Okay, okay,
And
yeah, yeah.
so Fallen, he's the detective, and the movie opens up with him catching this serial killer that he's been chasing and putting him to death through the electric chair. But the killer is actually possessed by this demon that transfers to different people through touch. And so
Mhm.
the rest of the movie is about this demon trying to get revenge on Denzel Washington. And literally, he can just walk through the street, and as long as he touches somebody, his demonic presence passes to somebody else. And so it's just a really cool, interesting movie. It's got some nice thrills. You got, John Goodman in there, as I said, is like his partner. It builds up to a really cool third act and an ending that really sticks the landing. So that's a really, really good one if you want something that's demonic possession that is not like typical demonic possession movies. It's like a police procedural with all that flavor in there.
Yeah, this is a classic. I love Fallen, and it's one that's very intellectual as well because without spoiling the ending that Cody alluded to, you start as a viewer trying to figure out, okay, how do you beat this thing, right? Because it
Hmm.
can just kind of move around. You can't kill it. It doesn't matter what you do to the body that it takes over, right? So how do you beat this thing? And so you have to kind of outwit the demon, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, and that's ultimately what they try to do in the final act. So,
Hmm.
totally agree with that. Um, pick any topic that you guys want to discuss or debate.
So my hidden gem possession movie would actually be The Taking of Deborah Logan. That is it's a found footage movie. It's about this lady. She was going to I think it was her grandmother's house or her mom's house, who was dealing with Alzheimer's, but she really wasn't dealing with Alzheimer's. She was actually dealing with demonic possession, and it
Hmm.
was changing who she was. That's a great found footage movie because that's my favorite genre of horror. I love found footage movies. That's just something that I don't know. I don't know what it is about found footage movies. I love them. I am a found footage defender. So anything found footage, screen life, analog, I'm down with it. And I think Taking of Deborah Logan is great, especially that one scene in like that cave system. That scene
Hmm.
was ridiculous. But that would be my hidden gem possession movie because I feel like a
All
lot of
right.
people know it, but I still feel like it's kind of a hidden gem.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of
for
people know
sure.
the image because I'm one. I've never seen the movie, but I know the image that you're talking about of her like swallowing a person or something like that. I feel
Yeah,
like that's been plastered everywhere, and so it's like you feel like you've seen it.
Hmm. So what's your favorite found footage film then, Stoney?
Grave Encounters. I
All right.
love Grave Encounters. I love that movie.
And that got turned into a franchise as well, right? There's like three of those, aren't there?
There's
About to do
two,
another
and then
one.
they're apparently doing a remake with Justin Long.
Hmm.
Mm. He's the magic man,
Yep.
as it relates to horror, right?
Yeah.
Um, Cody, how about you? What's your go-to found footage? If somebody's like, "Hey, make a recommendation."
Ooh, I'm gonna break Stoney's heart. I'm not a found footage guy at all. I
No?
try so hard, but it's a genre that I always struggle with. But my favorite one's not even a horror film. It's Chronicle. I love
Mm,
Chronicle. It's one of the cooler
Yeah, that's right.
superhero type movies. That was my introduction to Michael B. Jordan, and so I always have held that in high regard. But surprised we never got a follow up to it. Um,
Yeah.
actually, my probably my favorite found footage horror one would kind of fit along with what we were talking about. I actually think that The Last Exorcism is massively underrated. I thought that was a
mhm,
really, really good found footage movie.
It is a good
You
movie.
got the guy, I forget the name of the actor, but he eventually was in Better Call Saul as like this priest who he's going on a run of like, you know what, this is all bullshit. Like none of this is real. Now we're going to do a documentary on why my entire industry, if you want to call it that, is just full of it. And he ends
mhm,
up stumbling upon an actual exorcism. And much like with Exorcism of Emily Rose, you got an actress that's doing a lot of crazy contortion stuff. It's got a really solid ending. Caleb Landry Jones was in that. I think that might have been my introduction to him, and he's always really creepy. So that's
mhm.
one that I don't often get called out or hear get called out as like a great found footage movie, but it's one of the few that really worked for me.
Yeah, and we had in a prior episode we talked about found footage, and I brought up Hell House LLC, and
Mhm.
also thrown out Paranormal Activity. The original one, especially, I think is still very effective. putting aside whatever you feel about any of the sequels and follow-ups. But those are great. So, Cody, pick a wild card topic. Anything you want to discuss or debate? Let's have some fun.
Oh boy, a debate. Okay, so one of the big things that I've been seeing online a lot lately for really stupid reasons, but I guess it's worth talking about, is you've had this conspiracy theory trend going on here recently with the huge success of Obsession, and we got Backrooms, coming out in a couple of days, where there's it's some kind of like a narrative that's brewing against the potential of YouTubers turned filmmakers, where it's
Mhm.
like there's no way a 26-year-old YouTuber made a movie that's as good as Obsession. There had to have been a ghost director, and I've
Yeah,
been seeing
there's no way
so
Kane Pixels made Backrooms. He's just 20.
there you go. And so you've seen so much of that happening lately on social media, which, those of you that are smart enough to stay off of Twitter, I guess I'm just blowing your mind right now. But yeah, there's people that are that dumb out there. And it's got to the point where actually one of I guess he's a star of Backrooms or involved somehow. Mark Duplass has had to come out and he's just like, no, he definitely directed it. Like I was there. He was in
Right.
control. So I don't know what it is about, like if it's just some dumb current social media thing for clicks, or if it's some kind of a backlash of not wanting YouTubers turned filmmakers to turn into a trend, since we've gotten so many, especially really successful ones here lately.
Mhm.
If it's people just having insecurities brought to the light where they're like, how are people that are YouTubers making it to Hollywood when I can never, like, I don't know what it comes from, but it seems to be something that's just, it's starting to happen a little bit more, which is very weird when we should
What's
be
funny is that
celebrating
same.
that.
What's funny is it's not even just that. That's actually the new one.
Mhm,
The original pushback on more independent creatives being in spaces came from journalists not
mhm,
liking influencers and content creators being invited to red carpets and stuff.
Mm.
mhm,
It's essentially the same thing: filmmakers versus YouTubers, journalists versus content creators.
mhm,
It's that same exact thing. Obviously the studios see value in what we do.
mhm,
We're able to connect with the audience and promote these films in a way that journalists can't. We don't watch movies to criticize them. We watch movies to enjoy them.
mhm,
Right.
And I think that's what makes us different than the typical journalist. But I think the debate about the YouTubers becoming filmmakers being a problem, I think is really stupid. I mean, you got to realize these people are fans of the craft. They're fans of these films,
mhm,
and I think when YouTubers and independent creators make movies, they're all as so far they've all been good. I mean, Obsession, fantastic. I'm hearing great things about Backrooms. I think it debuted at 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not like we really give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes, but the fact that they gave it a 90% is worth something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
mhm.
You know, uh, who else? What's another creative person that just recently made a movie? We got
Markiplier with Iron
yeah,
Lung
Markiplier did Iron Lung. That
You had Chris
broke
Stuckman with
broke a ton of
Shelby
Chris
records.
Tuckman
Oaks.
did,
You
yeah, yeah,
have
I showed you. Yeah,
Radio Silence were YouTubers at one point. You got the Philippou brothers.
yeah.
You got the guy that did Together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
most of those movies have all been great films. So I
Yeah.
think that is something to pay attention to. I think that is just coming from a place of hatred. That's really all it
Mhm,
Right.
is. The fact that these independent people who've never made a movie before can make their first film and it's a smash. Everybody loves
Yeah.
it. Of course you're gonna be salty towards it because you've been making films for however many years and you've never had a movie that connected with people like that. It's because these people make films the way they make their content, which is
Mhm.
to engage the audience.
mhm,
Right.
Every day, every time me and Cody pick up the camera, pick up our phone to make a video, the whole purpose is to keep people engaged from the time they scroll to that video to the time they scroll to the end. Hopefully they stay to the end, but if they don't, at least let me catch your attention for the most part. So when
mhm,
your whole career as an independent creator is based around catching the audience's attention, you bring that same talent to your filmmaking. What can I do to make people lock in this entire movie? You
mhm,
come
Mhm.
at it, you make the movie from the eyes of a fan, not from the eyes of a technical filmmaker. And when you do that, it serves the fans because audiences are not stupid. We know what works and what doesn't.
mhm,
And that's what I think Curry Barker, especially because he actually spoke on that. He said the audience isn't dumb.
Right.
They're actually very smart. So it's
mhm.
best that we don't treat them like they're dumb.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm always going to be on the side of independent people making those kind of movies.
Of course, and I don't think that there's any age that you need to be or any experience level to be able to hold up a camera and start making a movie, right? And the best part is when it's all done, you can still go in the edit and make some magic happen, either with special effects or the way that you cut your film, the way that you get the pacing down, the music. And the soundtrack, all of that, ties into that overall experience that we all have, right? Whether it's at home or in the theater. So, Parsons absolutely made the back rooms. I don't know, what the debate is because obviously he did the YouTube series, and so kudos to A24 to say, hey, you did the source material. Why not make the feature, right? And it's the same thing. We brought up Lights Out before. It was the same filmmaker that made the short that ended up making the feature, and that's why a lot of filmmakers make short films is so that somebody sees that potential and says, hey, love that 5 minute thing you did, what does the hour and a half version look like? And sometimes it doesn't work out, but it's hard to make a movie, and I think
Yeah.
we'll save that for another conversation another day. But when it works, it works really well, and that's why I think you're going to see a lot more of these guys making movies as they should. um so you brought up Rotten Tomatoes, Stony, and you brought up Community, which is obviously why we're here at Fear Assembly. So how do you discover films, like things that are coming out soon? Is it trailers? Is it social media? Is it other media personalities? How are you discovering things?
Um, like I said, I literally live on YouTube, so I always catch trailers when they drop.
Mhm,
Um, I hate Twitter, but the one thing that I do love about Twitter is discussing film.
mhm.
I have that is the only account that I have my notifications turned on for. So like whenever they tweet something, I see it. So I immediately look, and if it's something that's worth talking about, I go make a video. Um, I get a lot of my news from discussing film. They drop stuff so quick. I'm also subscribed to like Bloody Disgusting's
Mhm,
newsletters. So I get a lot of my news from them. So yeah, Bloody Disgusting, discussing film, and just literally being on the YouTube home tab
mhm.
all day is how I catch stuff.
Alright. And if there's a movie coming out before you answer, Cody, let's say something has like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, does that turn you off from going to see it, or are you still gonna go based on your thoughts on the trailer and the hype for that movie?
That's for me.
No, 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 for Stoney, before
Okay.
before you go into how
Um,
you get your content.
I I use Rotten Tomatoes as kind of a guide. Like
Mhm,
I use it as kind of like a place note.
mhm,
But I don't always I don't allow it to like turn me off completely unless the audience score is also low.
mm, got it.
Now if the critic score is like 40%, but the audience score is like a 70,
Mhm,
I'm a rock with the audience score. But if a movie has like a 20% um critic score and a 30% audience score, that means it's probably trash.
right.
Probably trash. I would definitely say the audience score matters more than
Mhm.
the critic score.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I'm the co-founder of a distributor for indie films called Utopia, and many times we're, talking filmmakers off the ledge in terms of their reactions to critic reviews, and they're like, "Oh, you got to call that guy in the New York Times and tell him that he doesn't understand my story." And we're like, "Look, are you writing? Did you make this movie for them or did you make it for the fans? And like
Mhm.
maybe there's a way to just kind of spin this negative press, and in many cases, bad press is better than no press, right? So
Right.
a negative hit from New York Times is still better than them not covering the film at all. But yeah, I definitely think to your point, Stoney, if the tomato meter is like horrendous, and people see that, they do react to it. So I think there is kind of like a range of expectations that can change what happens at the box office and even downstream for VOD. Cody, how are you discovering new films and content? Are you like Stoney? Is it mainly YouTube and alerts, or how are you getting it?
Well, first of all, I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, so to hell with both of
Mm.
you. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, it's look, the thing with Rotten Tomatoes is I feel like people have to just be more customized with the way that they engage with it, or even just critic reviews in general. Like in a day now where you've got YouTubers, you've got TikTokers, you got all these different social media platforms. I think the best route people can go with is experience a bunch of different people. You find somebody that you like their style. And even if you don't agree with them all the way, but they're really good at articulating why they like something or why they don't like something, and you get use out of it, that's the most useful thing, not percentages and numbers. But as far as how I discover movies, I've been doing this so long where I almost feel like I'm just plugged in everywhere and I just get the info. I don't even know if I really seek it out much. I don't typically watch trailers, especially with horror. I try to not to watch any of them because it feels like so many trailers nowadays just give you the whole movie in 2 minutes. So I try
Yeah.
to walk into as much as possible blind. There are exceptions. If it's a movie that I just cannot help myself, I'll at least watch the first teaser. Resident Evil was one of those. I'm like, I'm going to watch the teaser, then I'm getting out. But for the most part, I really like walking in and not knowing much about what I'm about to experience. And a lot of that comes from my film festival experience too, where there's not much more rewarding than walking into something and only knowing the title. And then you walk out going, what was that? I mean, that's how it was with Obsession. I'm like, Obsession, okay, well, somebody's obsessed with something. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And so as far as how I know what movies are coming out at the beginning of each year, I plug my calendar full of dates for when I'm going to drop reviews for like all the big releases that are already on the slate, all the more independent movies that kind of fill in throughout the year. I'll either catch word of it or I might, have people ask me or comment at me if I'm going to review it. Sometimes I just simply open up Fandango and be like, what's in the theater this week? Okay, I know that Toy Story 5's out. What's this other thing down here? And I'll kind of look into it and do a double feature. That's only for theatrical movies, though. When it comes to streaming movies, those pretty much don't even exist to me until I have somebody I trust be like, you need to watch this. Because I feel like there's so many of them nowadays, especially like the action comedies where it's just like, I don't need to watch all 8 of these movies with Mark Wahlberg and Batista. I'll just wait for somebody to tell me which one's good. And I don't often hear much from people.
Got it. Got it. All right. Well, for our listeners, there's also great resources like Letterboxd, which has some communities and individuals that you can follow if you like their taste in film. And there's many other ways, obviously, to discover films, but don't just be served up, the next ad on Facebook or your television or whatever it is, because obviously you're primarily going to see the big studio films, and you're going to miss out on some hidden gems and great indie films. So. Um,
I plan
uh,
on writing me a script.
Mhm.
And actually, I already started. Now I'm getting that together. I'm gonna submit that over to Cole when I'm done with it.
all right. Great. Yeah. And there's also, in the screenplay side, there's a Blacklist, is a great platform. It's been around for many years. That's where a lot of studios have, acquired the rights to screenplays, or they've reached out to the writers and said, "Hey, we like the story. Do you want to make it into a feature?" So to your point, Stoney, there's many ways for creative folks to get their stories, created, whether it starts with a short film or a screenplay or any variation of that. And yeah, we're always happy to take a look at any project at any phase of development. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of horror myself. So if it's a horror or horror adjacent, you already have my interest. So looking forward to that. And for our listeners, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're seeing this on any of the free channels, know that we also have a Patreon network now, where you'll get the exclusive access to these podcasts as soon as they're out. You're also going to have more access to interaction with all of our contributors and our team, and be able to ask questions and get direct recommendations as well. So we're looking forward to announcing some of those features as we get going. Um, are there any other horror films that you guys would recommend to our listeners before we wrap up today's conversation? Cody, I'll start with you.
Tons of them, and you can hear about all of them on my channel. So there's the
And when,
easiest way to do it to save you the work. If you look up Cody Leach on YouTube, you'll find about 3,000 results of me in this
Mhm.
face. So there's a bunch of them on there, and then TikTok, everywhere else. If you search Cody Leach YT, you'll be able to find me over there. But yeah, hidden gems and underseen movies. That's the thing that I love recommending the most. It's the most validating for me. So there should be plenty of them over there for you to find.
All right, Stoney, how about you?
Same thing. Just go to my page. You'll see all kinds of breakdowns. I love doing behind the scenes fun fact type of video. So if there's ever a movie that you've seen but you want to know the crazy story behind it,
Hmm.
that's what I'm pretty good at.
All right. Well, then let me throw a curveball at you. Do you know the fun facts about the movie Open Water? Have you seen
I know
Open
a
Water?
few.
It wasn't really an
Uh,
open water, was it?
Well, it was actually. Have you guys seen that movie?
Yeah. I
All right.
think conceptually it's the scariest movie of all time.
Yeah. And
Conceptually.
so for our listeners, it's based on a true story of a couple that were on vacation and they went out scuba diving. And when they came up to the surface of the water, their boat had left because somebody had miscounted how many people were back on the boat. And so they're just kind of floating in the middle of the ocean. And they look all around and they don't know which way the land is. And they're dealing with the current. And then all of a sudden, creatures start creeping closer because they can, sense that there might be a snack available to them. So that's the main premise of this movie. And the fun fact that I was going to get to there's actually a few. Don't ask me why this stuff sticks in my head, but it's one of the lowest budget films ever made, like in any genre. I think they made it for under like $80,000. I'm pretty sure. And the actors were swimming with real sharks, and they were wearing like chainmail, outfits. I don't even know what you would call it, but something that was supposed to protect them from bites, and they still were getting bit by real sharks in the production of this movie. So keep that in mind if you do go check it out. And it is terrifying. I'm definitely afraid of sharks. I talked about Jaws in one of the first episodes, but yeah, open water is terrifying. So if you
Yeah.
haven't done a fun facts on that one, Stoney, that's got many interesting gems.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm actually terrified of the ocean, not gonna lie to you. So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. Well, thank everybody for joining us today. And as always, we're going to be dropping some new episodes multiple times a week. So make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and make sure to drop a comment and share any of your recommendations of movies that you think we should be discussing.
But